Okay, so we worked through most of our task list here. We can log in with Replit auth. So we'll allow that to access my Replit account. And then we get a nice little program creation screen. I have my user icon there so I can log out if I'd like. And then we get our sticky scroll on the right. I can add exercises and they are removed. And then we get our sort of exercise balance. Still some jumpiness there, but what we would want is to be able to even this out. Okay, now we're going to continue with our fitness app, and I actually changed how I did this a bit. We recently launched Design Mode, and so this is actually a retake. We're going to build it again. I built this in another video, but I want to show you all Design Mode. And what we're going to do, we built out all this logic in the first video, is we're not even going to start with the logic. We're going to start with the design. So separate from the backend stuff we talked about and all the logic is the actual design of the application. So in design mode, we're actually just going to build out the front end. I'm going to say, help me build a hyper-minimalist app for logging my exercises. Use a mix of serif, sans-serif, and monospace fonts. Use a slight border radius and a responsive card-based layout. I'd prefer dark theme. Help me build V1 with a focus on clean design. So in design mode, what you'll notice is that we're going to jump right into actually building the app, and we're using Gemini 3 here. So my hope is that we're going to get a really well-designed app, and then in parallel, I'm going to take that prompt from Claude that we finished in the first video. We're going to bring that into our application. So we're kind of going like, okay, I want to build out the front end, and then once that's done, using Gemini 3, using some advanced design systems, we're going to start on the backend functionality with all of the upfront planning and logic extraction that we did in our first app. Then we're going to transition into iterating and refining, which is part of the process of vibe coding. It's like first we plan, then we build, and then we iterate and critique and just keep going over and over and over again. So the cool thing about design mode here is that this typically takes 1 to 2 minutes to build. While that's happening, I'm going to go back over to Claude and we'll pull that prompt. Okay, so we have Claude here, and this is like all the logic that we wrapped up in that first video. I'm going to copy this, go back over. This is really pretty. I'm smiling because I like this, right? We got our serif font. We got our sans-serif font as an accent. We could even add in some italics here, which might be nice, but this is coming along really nicely. So what I'm going to do is we're building this out in Gemini. We got our design. So what you'll notice is that this only took really a couple minutes, it was actually 1 minute, but this is perfect. Let's iterate on it. We can add serif italic accents into our font. Italic into our app. Because what I'm thinking is like, this looks really pretty. What if the lifts themselves were in italic? That might be nice. And I also am a bigger fan of lowercase text. Can we make all the text lowercase except for the uppercase accents? So with design mode, with this front end functionality we're building out, we're really just prototyping. Ooh, see that animation? We're prototyping out some of how the app interacts. Okay. No, that's nice. Now let's make that stuff lowercase. We might have like a little progression thing in here. I think this is coming along. So now, again, we're going to take the logic that we just had and build it into a full application. So I paste that in, double check this is what I want. Here's the updated prompt with the application flow section. We have our exercise type matrix. We have our schema. We have all of the logic. And I'm going to use voice pretty heavily when we're building this out because these are some like more complex prompts and I don't want to really type all of it in. Now I'm going to attach a bunch of backend functionality for application. So I'd like you to transition this into a full stack application so we can start building in exactly how we'd like our program to work. So we got our design. Now we're going to transition into the backend functionality. And I uploaded all that logic. So what's going to happen now is that we're going to upgrade the app. Agent's going to upgrade the app from that design only to a full stack application. We're going to convert to the app. We'll get a nice little prompt here. And what's happening is we're going to transition from using Gemini 3 with a kind of only front end application into something that's a bit more robust using a typical agent. And the whole point of this is that we're going to toggle between kind of max autonomy, like higher autonomy, to lower autonomy modes. So in agent, we have our autonomy modes here. And we also have fast mode, which is a new feature. So fast mode allows us to make really fast, lightweight changes. It's also free for a limited time. It might not be free when you're watching this, but we're going to toggle between maybe like low or fast autonomy and max autonomy. And the goal here is going to be basically, as we build out these more complex functionalities, we're going to like higher autonomy levels because we want agent to like do a very robust job of implementing these. And then as we polish the application, we're going to focus on lower autonomy levels. So usually for like bigger prompts like this, I like to follow along and see if we're kind of tracking. So what's agent going to do? User starts a program, sees next workout, logs, performance system, auto adjusting training maxes. It's going to create a database schema and then probably push it. So we can kind of like check the database here. What I'm going to do is I'm going to let agent build this out. We'll come back when it's done with the first run. I would anticipate this taking 15 or 20 minutes because we asked quite a lot of it. And then we're going to iterate from there. All right, so we're back. And what I sent through after the backend functionality prompt was just a quick, hey, we need to be able to start building out the program. I can't save the program. There was some stuff that was broken. And now I need to be able to delete the program. So just added in some kind of simple backend functionality. But what we got, we're gonna walk through it, is our protocol kind of logbook here with our program, and we get our next workout. Off the bat, I'm gonna start taking some notes here. We need to see the mesocycle and macrocycle. Like at a quick glance, what our progress is. And then what we should be getting here shortly is the ability to delete these programs because that didn't work as well. So we have our upcoming exercises on day 1. It's not clear to me how we would start this program. So there's a creation flow, which we're going to audit in a second, but it's also not clear how we start a day or log our weights. Also, the weights should be dependent on our RPE8 single if we choose, right? So it looks like this is prescribed. Okay, so now I can go into my manage programs here and create a new program or delete these. Okay, failed to delete program. I think agent will figure that one out. But we can also go in here and create a new program. So I'm going to send these through in the queue. Well, actually, we'll say delete is broken, and then we'll send these through. So cut this. And we're going to flip on low mode, low autonomy here, just because I really want to rip through these. So we started out with this like pretty long planning video. We even kicked it off with a long running job after the design phase. And now we're going to start iterating quickly because this is a hands-on building session and I really want to make this exactly the way I want it to be. So now we have no active program. So Matt's program, getting jacked. Okay, add day. I like that. Okay, so this is actually a pretty cool day flow. Add exercise. So let's say we're going to do legs. Day 1, deadlift, legs curl, leg extension. Nice. So we can choose the focus, strength or hypertrophy. Okay. When choosing, we can use our voice, I forget. When choosing strength or hypertrophy focus for each exercise, we should adjust the sets and reps accordingly. Also, for hypertrophy exercises, typically we'd want to do 4 or 5 sets per day. And those should be a set increase then rep increase scheme. So basically what I'm thinking is we shouldn't be setting the starting weight if it's strength focused, right? We should be setting our estimated 1 rep max. Also, we shouldn't be setting the starting weight for a strength focused exercise. We should be setting our estimated 1 rep max. That's only on the hypertrophy exercise. So basically we need to qualify if this is a compound lift or a accessory movement. We should be qualifying if each lift is a compound lift or an accessory movement, which should then inform the way that we set reps for each lift according to the progressions that are outlined in our upload. So hopefully that can kind of help us with our exercise selection here. This is pretty cool. And then like that's day 4, day 3, we could be like, these things maybe. Does that persist? Looks like it. Sweet. So yeah, we just need this to be populated with more sensible information because right now it's just like very wrong and it doesn't make sense for what we're trying to do. But hopefully you can start to see the way that I'm approaching this plan and build functionality where using the product is helping me put myself in the seat of someone who is a user, right? And eventually the user will be me. But I can then inspect if things are the way that I want them to be and kind of coalesce them into the product experience that I want. So what are the other things that I would want in this program builder experience? Obviously, like we need to be better about calculating the rep schemes for the users according to what we want as we're building out the program. But the other thing we really want, or the other thing I need to know is in real time, if my training program is also there's some like jumpiness here, and I shouldn't be able to add more than 7 days. I should not be able to add more than 7 days to a program. So there's some jumpiness here, but the other thing we need to define for each is a muscle group. We need to define a muscle group for each exercise. Make it a multi-select for now and do research on the muscle groups we should include. Be conservative and err on the side of fewer groups. What I'm thinking here is basically I want to populate muscle groups for each exercise, but I don't want it to give me like 100 muscle groups. I'd rather just be 6 or 7 because commonly when I'm adding muscle groups or when I'm adding exercises, I just want to ballpark that I'm not making a lopsided program. So that's where we're coming from. Also, we can't delete training days. We can not delete training days from the program creation screen. Nice. So now we get our starting weight. For the hypertrophy focus. For the hypertrophy focus, we should display starting sets and starting reps. We should also be able to specify ending sets and ending reps because that's how our sets then reps periodization, our increase works. Again, what we talked about in the first video is like as typically go 3 sets, 4 sets, 5 sets, and then bump the reps. And what we want to specify are the set ranges and the rep ranges for those things. Okay, this isn't quite what we want, right? Because it's classifying these exercises as compound or accessory. Oh no, I guess that is what we want. That's not really what I had in mind, but I think it's okay. I think we're missing some logic here, though. I think it's in here. What I'm thinking is, yep, here we go. We're going to copy that. Ensure the logic is correct for compound versus accessory. So compound can be strength or hypertrophy focused. We're using last set to failure. Accessory must be hypertrophy focused. Is hypertrophy equal true? Use sets then reps progression. Excellent. Chest, back, shoulders, arms, legs, core. We might remove core. Typically, the way I train, we don't worry about that too much because I'm doing pretty heavy compound exercises. Okay. Now we got some nice little tags here. Okay, sick. Okay, I like this. I like this a lot, actually. This is dope. This is a hideous scroll bar also. The scroll. Can you add custom themed scroll bars across our app? Interesting. I can specify these twice, which isn't actually that is a problem. I should not be able to specify the same exercise twice a given day. So strength, hypertrophy, bicep curl. Yeah. I'm gonna edit this. We should not be able to make a hypertrophy and accessory a strength focus. That'll fix that. You can see agents clearing the context here, which means that this chat might be getting a little long, so we might start a new one soon. Okay, so now I can't add more than 7 days. I think I already said we can't delete the days, so that'll be implemented soon. So back squat, let's buy deadlift, leg extension, leg curl. That's maybe a typical day. Back squat, strength, hypertrophy, hypertrophy. Say I wanted to do hypertrophy on the back squat. So here we go. For compound lifts, even in hypertrophy, we should be estimating 1 RM. So we don't want a starting weight. We want our estimated 1 rep max. And then really, we shouldn't even be dictating sets and reps. We should only be dictating sets, and then we're going to define the reps. For compound lifts, we should not be dictating reps at all. We're going to be defining those reps. Reps are only defined for accessory lifts. Okay, I think that's correct. What the logic looks like in my program is like for compound lifts, you just dictate the estimated 1 rep and then the amount of sets, and we're going to take care of the reps and the rep out because that's kind of what we talked about in the logic there. So now we have our back squat, bench by. Our exercises now have these muscle groups. So what would be nice is as I'm building out the program in real time, we're showing the balance of muscle groups by sets. now that we have our muscle groups in real time as we're building out the program, something that will be useful is to see the balance of muscle groups by exercise. So based on the number of sets and reps, can you show a visualization that helps us understand if we're building a balanced program? Also, you should remove the core muscle group, please. You should also add separate, posterior and anterior muscle groups for the legs specifically. So I'm thinking quads versus glutes or hamstrings. Okay, so now we have this day 1, which I can change to like leg day boy. Upper. This is unhinged. I don't like the interface. This like feels a bit redundant. Yeah, this feels a little redundant. So I'm just thinking, can we make this UI a bit more compact? And so then in addition to this like muscle groups thing, what we would also should see is an estimated total volume and total number of reps. In addition to estimating our muscle groups and being able to visualize that, we should also be able to visualize the total volume on light weeks into heavy weeks for the program. Note that that requires us actually building out the program schedule. So this is useful. I think, like, have you ever heard the term rubber duck debugging? It's a term software engineers use to describe explaining a process to a rubber duck or a problem to a rubber duck, and that helps you solve the problem. Rubber duck building is describing what you want as you're building out the application. And as I said this, what I realized is that this shouldn't be built right now because I don't think we're dynamically generating the program schedule for this program, given that we have all these issues with the logic and how things should be working. So my hypothesis is that at some point, right, we need to finalize this, and it's going to generate a training schedule. And that schedule is going to go into our development database in our microcycle table. Basically into our days, right? So we'll have a day, we'll have day 1. Currently we don't, right? That's the problem. So I think we need the program fully built out. But what we should be doing is generating these with the business logic before we have the program built out. And this might be a bit more complicated. So actually, I think it's fine to send this through with the acknowledgement that things might not work as they're expected, and that's okay. So we're going to get to this one, but this is an improvement, which means that this will work for, right, this is what we want. Starting weight, so 30s, starting sets, starting reps, ending sets, ending reps. Exactly what we want. These like toggles are really bad too, so we need to fix that. And we can remove exercises or delete the day. That works. So note that this requires actually building a program schedule, which we should do in memory before writing to the database. Yeah, this is a little too complicated. I think this is like that's like a P2, like we save that for later. Okay, so right now we're really just drilling in on the logic here on this program builder. I think it's coming along though. So let's see, do we get this back squat versus biceps? Bicep locked into hypertrophy, strength can be strength or hypertrophy. And we're defining an estimated 1 rep max or sets. Other things. So we can add our days. We can have 1 to 7 days. Perfect. we're not defining our weeks. We need to be able to define the number of weeks for the program on the builder page, right? So we need to be able to define the total program length, and then as well, we need to be able to define how frequently we should have deload cycles. Can you intelligently add an interface where this makes sense and where we can only see the possible combinations? For example, if I had a program of 20 weeks, I wouldn't be able to deload every 6 weeks because then I'd have partial macro and mesocycles. Now I'm thinking about the interface, not just building out the days, we actually need to build out the length of the program, the duration, what that looks like, and that involves necessarily defining how long the program is, defining how often we deload, and there are certain combinations that shouldn't be possible. So this is looking good. Maybe a cute thing. Can you make it so we can add an emoji to the program as well as an emoji for each day? I just like playful stuff like that. I like emojis. So what happens? Let's see something. Or define some stuff, whatever. Good enough. Not really. Not really. Oh boy. So we get error. That's fine. We're updating the exercise in the database with new muscle groups. We're gonna have to think about the way that this works. Because what we'll need to do is allow me to add exercises and then generate the muscle groups rather than enter them in manually or select them. In the future, I think I want to have AI do that. Like I want some sort of AI muscle group definition thing. But for the moment, it can be manual since I'm really the only one using this. Okay. Now the program creation needs to be at the user level. So add Replit auth so that we have to log in to create these programs. Use a hyper-minimalist logged out screen. Whoops. Use a hyper-minimalist logged out screen. We'll use medium for that one because it's a little bit bigger. Okay. I think we should have like a visualization UI. Oh, this is sick. Let's go. Oh, this is dope. So if I said like 6, 8. Okay, so we're only factoring in the starting sets, which is fine. That's fine for now. This is dope. God, I love this. I'm excited. Now what I want to do, what happens if we zoom out? Like if I open this in a new, I'm wondering if this is like a zoomed in, because typically when I do these recordings, okay, so it's the same thing. What I'm thinking is we have this up top, but then we make it sticky scroll on wider screens, so you can see both. The muscle group balance pane on wider screens should sticky scroll on the right as we're adding exercises. That way we can see it as we're adding exercise details. If the page is not wide enough, it should stay on the top where it is currently. Notice how descriptive I'm being with some of these prompts, right? And sticky scrolling just means it's going to stick on this pane here and scroll down, and that can be useful for saving space and making things a bit more intuitive. Okay, we got a little bit, I like that. That's nice. I dig it. The animations are there. That's cool. So I got my program, mad-ep, get and inject, day 1. Okay, so now we get an error. Instead of throwing an error when we add an exercise that's already on a day, could you simply remove that exercise from the list for a given day? Like, why don't we just remove these? That would make more sense. So I have my super balanced. Actually, other than doing 9 sets of back of chest, cable fly, and bench, yeah, we're good. Matt E program length. So if we say 21 weeks, deload every. Okay. Okay, so the problem is I wasn't typing 31, I was typing 21, but it doesn't let me, like, I think there's some like logic that's preventing me from doing this right. Nice. So this is exactly what I want though, right? I can't enter in exactly the program length that I want because the logic interferes with certain program lengths. So only calculate the deload weeks once I enter in a custom program weeks. Now we have our hella cool emojis. That's great. We got our definition here that will sticky scroll. Add in custom up, down arrows for numerical inputs. Also just a nice thing, add a custom, a white highlight and an inverse text color. This is a nice touch. What I was thinking is it would be cool if the highlights are white and the text gets inverted. It's just a nice thing. So off system, that's a bit more complicated, so we'll have to just keep an eye on that. Can we save our program? Invalid program data. Oh, the muscle group balance is only for a given day. The muscle group balance is only for a given day. We actually want to show the muscle group balance for the overall program. Right, because necessarily if I do upper on one day and legs on another, it will be imbalanced. This is nice. We got our mesocycles and our microcycles. They're getting calculated. Our planned exercises. Oh. Okay. And our performed exercises. Program instances, programs, users. Got a demo user. Yeah, we're going to fix that. There's some misalignment here. So like emoji isn't aligned with program name. do an alignment and spacing audit on our program definition page. This is actually wrong. So deload on a 21-week program, I would deload every 6 weeks and then have a rest week on week 7. The deload, so the deload every week's number is actually incorrect because we're not taking into account the actual deload week. So instead of deloading, for example, for 7 weeks, we would train for 6 weeks and then deload for 7th week. We're not accounting for the actual deload taking time. Boom. So agent is doing some crazy SQL stuff, some crazy database stuff, so that we can have our beautiful Replit auth integration. Amazing. We're going to come back to it. I think I'm going to let Replit kind of crank through some of this stuff because we've got quite a long list, and auth typically takes some time. It also means it might introduce some errors, but that's okay. We'll see what we get. I'm going to come back to it in a second. Okay, so we worked through most of our task list here. We can log in with Replit auth. So we'll allow that to access my Replit account. And then we get a nice little program creation screen. I have my user icon there so I can log out if I'd like. And then we get our sticky scroll on the right. I can add exercises and they are removed. And then we get our sort of exercise balance. Still some jumpiness there, but what we would want is to be able to even this out. So, right, say there are no shoulders, then you'd say, okay, well, like day 3, we want to add in some shoulder work. I don't know if, right, like add in a lateral raise. We got our shoulders evened out. We could add in triceps exercise, push down. We're resetting this as we go along here. So that appears to be working. What else? We'll wait for this to reload. We're adding in some other things that I sent through to the queue, which is the ability to search and create exercises, which is being built right now, which is why we're getting that error, which is all right. But all in all, this is really starting to come together. The one thing that still doesn't work is that we cannot submit our program. Like, we still can't create the program, which is fine, because for this first session, I really wanted to focus on the create program form, which I think is quite frankly coming along. Like, this looks really good. And now we can do like back. We could add back squat, and we could add a new exercise. We could say Romanian dead lift. That would be a glute hamstring exercise. It is a compound exercise. Now we can create exercises. What I expect to see here is that this flowed through. I actually don't know that it submitted before we restarted. Romanian dead lift. Compound, create exercise. Okay, so that's not working. I'm sure agent is on it though. So we have the ability to create exercise quickly. Our deload is more accurate, right? So like, not only do we have custom up and down arrows, but like if we wanted a 21-week program, we could do 3 weeks, 2 train, 1 deload, 7 phases. 7 weeks, 6, 1, 3. If we bump that down to 20, it would be 20, 19, 1, 1, 10, 9, 1, 2. we have that accurate functionality that I was really interested in. And this user experience is starting to feel really good, even if I think we could make these buttons maybe a little bit prettier. They don't really feel like they go with our theme. I think they could be all caps, kind of similar to this. And it's going to fix the create exercise form. But again, the thing that still doesn't work is that we can't actually create the program and then dictate that training program with sort of that periodization that we'd want. So in the next video, we'll dive into like the actual periodization that we want in creating the program, which should then trigger a schedule build in the database, right? Like when I created a program, what should happen here is our days table really should just get populated, and we should have a plan for that program that gets created in the database. So we're fixing this create exercise form component, and that should be done. Next video, we're going to jump into actually triggering the plan, and we're going to start from there. But this has been our initial build out. Really happy with how this came together, largely because of design mode, the way that we iterated. Excited for what's next. Until next time, peace.